My dear students, today I am taking the fourth chapter of 10th class, that is quadratic equation, first part. First, before quadratic equation, I am going to tell you the definition of polynomial. An algebraic expression of this form a0, a1x, a2x square, a cube, x cube, an x to the power n is called polynomial, as I have already defined in the polynomial chapter. And the general form of the polynomial is Px is equal to a0, a1x, a2x, and an x to the power n, where a0, a1, a2 are the coefficient of this polynomial and x is variable, and these are the terms of this polynomial as I have defined already. So, this is a general form of the polynomial. Now I am going to teach you the quadratic polynomial. Quadratic polynomial is of the degree 2 and the general form degree 2, and the general form of quadratic polynomial is this, and it can be written as Px is equal to this. This is a general form of quadratic polynomial. So I want to tell you that this quadratic polynomial has zeros, and quadratic polynomial has two zeros. So let alpha is any any real number 0 of this polynomial. As you know, the 0 of this polynomial makes this polynomial 0. If you put the value of that alpha in place of x, the value of this polynomial will be 0, because that is the 0 of the polynomial. So if P alpha is equal to 0, because the value of this polynomial will be 0, then P alpha is equal to 0. I have put the value of alpha in place of x. P alpha is equal to 0. If P alpha is equal to 0, then Px is equal to 0, because Px is equal to P alpha. Understand my point? If P alpha is equal to 0 and I have put alpha in place of Px, so Px and P alpha are equal. If P alpha is 0, then Px is also 0. By putting the value of this Px, Px is equal to ax square plus bx plus c. This is a quadratic polynomial, and value of this Px is equal to 0. This implies that ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0, because Px is equal to 0. And what is this? This was the polynomial, but it becomes a quadratic equation. Quadratic polynomial turns into a quadratic equation, because quadratic polynomial has no 0. Polynomial does not contain 0 or equality sign, and equation has a sign of equal. So this is a quadratic polynomial and this is a quadratic equation. Now what is the difference between? I am going to tell you what is the difference between quadratic equation and quadratic polynomial. This is very important to know this. What is the difference between what is the difference between polynomial short form, polynomial and quadratic equation? This is also short form. This is a quadratic equation. Please note it. What is the difference between polynomial and quadratic equation? Now, polynomial. This is quadratic equation. First point, ax square plus bx plus c is a polynomial. No sign of equality. First, ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0 is a quadratic equation, and sign of equality. This is, it means in polynomial there is no sign of equality, and in quadratic equation there is a sign of equality. So, second, polynomial can have zeros. Polynomial can have zeros. Quadratic equation can have roots, roots and 0. Now, third point, linear polynomial. Linear polynomial can have at most one zero. Note it. Quadratic equation can have at most one root. Next, fourth, quadratic polynomial can have at most two zeros. Fourth, quadratic equation can have at most two roots. Now, fifth point, cubic polynomial can have at most three zeros. Fifth, quadratic equation can have at most can have at most three roots. Three roots. Sixth point, by quadratic polynomial can have at most four zeros, four zeros. Here 6 point. Quadratic equation can have at most four roots. Here you have seen that in polynomial can have zero and quadratic equation can have roots. This is the difference between polynomial and quadratic equation. And next, quadratic equations and polynomials both are mathematical point of view. Quadratic equations are more important than polynomial. Polynomial are less important. In comparison to in comparison to equations. Equations are more important. Equations are more important. More important than polynomial. Now, in the mathematical form, it can be written as equations greater than polynomials. This is the mathematical form. Now, I'm going to teach you this chapter quadratic equation. Now I'm taking quadratic equation. Quadratic equation. Quadratic equation. General form. Ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a, b, c belongs to R and x is variable, and also degree of this equation is 2. Therefore, this is a quadratic equation. Again, as you know, quadratic polynomial have two zeros. In the same way, this quadratic equation can have two roots. This equation has two roots. And what about these two roots? These two roots may be equal, may be unequal, and may be imaginary. Now, the nature of the root, nature of the roots, nature of the roots is number one, roots are real and unequal. Second condition, roots may be unequal. For example, 3 and 4. Second, roots are real and equal. 3 and 3, 4 and 4, both the roots may be equal. Third condition, roots are imaginary. This third condition, this third condition is not used in 10th class. So leave this third condition and we have to read only these two conditions. Now we are going to factorize the quadratic equation in second part. There are three methods of factorization. With the help of the factorization, you can have the values of the roots, and then you have to see whether the roots are equal or unequal. Now I am going to take tomorrow the second part of this quadratic equation. First, roots, factorization of the quadratic equation. And by the first method, by factorization, we will get the roots of the quadratic equations. We will take examples, different examples from NCERT book, and then you will see how you will get the roots of a quadratic equation. In the last, my dear students, I do hard work for you. Please subscribe the channel for me, and I shall be very thankful to you. Again, thanking you.